Hi everybody, it's Christina from Creations with Christina, and today we're making a card using a cut from the Cricut cartridge Sweater Weather. And I cut out this ice skate at 3.5 inches, and the ice skate came with a little like ribbon, and I cut it off, and I don't know where I put it, but anyway, I cut it off because I wanted to tie my own ribbon. So I cut my base color in a basil textured cardstock, and then my pattern paper is from Authentique's paper collection called Wonder. And what I did was I took my Crocodile because it cuts out 4 of these little squares, and I wanted to be able to cut through both of them, and the bottom layer was solid. So what I did was I took my top layer that had the square cutouts and took my Crocodile and just cut or punched each one of the holes, and then I added an extra one up here on the top. So let's get started putting this together. I'm going to go ahead and first adhere these 2 pieces together, and I'm just going to use my ATG gun to do that. I'll just line this up and adhere it down. And then I have these little brads that I'm not even sure where I got them from, but I've had them for a while, so I thought I would do is use those in my holes, which would be where like the shoelace goes to the ice skate. So I'm just going to put these in, and some of them are kind of close, but I don't really care. It actually looks pretty cool that way. And they kind of look like little snowflakes. Okay, so that'll be my buckles there. And then I have a piece of seam binding, and this is just regular seam binding. I didn't de-stress it or anything, and it comes on a roll like this. And all I'm going to do is just take my scissors first and cut it at an angle just so I can make it a little easier to feed it through the hole. And this is the hole that I added with my Crocodile. This is the extra hole I made. So what I'm going to do is just tie a bow, if I can feed this through. There we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and tie a little bow, and hopefully I could do this on camera. And what I do is I just tie it like a regular shoelace, except for when instead of going this way, I always come from the back. It makes a nicer bow that way. If I can get the loop through, we'll be in good shape. Try that again. This is why I always tie my bows off camera, because I always mess them up. And it takes like forever. So I'm just going to mess with this a little bit, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to put the rest of the card together. Okay, it took me forever to get the bow. I'm still not totally satisfied, but it's good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect, so I'm just going to trim off these tails here, and that'll be my bow on my skates. And I'm just going to actually make this a little bit smaller. So there we go. Okay. So now for the base of my card, I'm just using a piece of vintage cream cardstock from Paper Tray Ink. It is a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 inch card, and this will fit into a standard A2 size envelope. And what I did was I took an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock and just cut it at 4 1/4, and then did my score line at 4 1/4. So that is my card base. And then I took a piece of the same brown cardstock that I did the base to my ice skate on, and I cut that down, and this measures 4 by 4, and I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that down. And I'm just going to center that right in the center of my card. like that. And then my pattern paper is also from the same paper collection. And this measures 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. So it's just 1/4 inch smaller than my brown cardstock, and that's going to get adhered right to the center of my brown cardstock. Just like that. And then I have my ice skate, and my ice skate is going to go right on the front of my card, and I'm just going to pop that up with some dimensional adhesive. And these are just Stampin' Up's dimensionals. And if you want to, you could put a little thin piece of dimensional on there. I'm not going to really worry about it right now. So that I get adhered right to the front of my card, just like that. And now I'm going to do the inside of my card. Normally I don't do the inside of my card, but I just wanted to do something different today. So I have another piece of my brown cardstock, and this again measures 4 inches by 4 inches. And then I have a piece of my vintage cream cardstock, and this measures 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that down. So this kind of makes my card a little bit thick. I'm not worried about it because it is going to be hand delivered. So most of my cards I usually hand deliver anyway, so. Okay, and then I have another piece of the leftover paper from my paper that I use in the front of my card. And this just is 4 inches by 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to adhere that right down to the bottom. So that's going to go straight across the bottom, just like that. And then I'm going to stamp my sentiment on the inside. My sentiment comes from the Paper Tray Ink on Ice stamp set. And I have my sentiment. It's enjoy the fun that winter brings. And I'm going to go ahead and put that right here in the center. First thing I have to do is grab my ink. Okay, so I grabbed my ink. This is the Jenny Bolin Brown Sugar. I love Jenny Bolin ink. And my sentiment here. And my last video that I did with stamping, I used my Fiskars press. And I really do love this. So, and it's great because it makes it a little bit easier for lining up, especially because I have a tendency to stamp crooked. So I am going to line using the grid of my mat, and then I can line up my sentiment to be a little bit straighter than I normally would if I just kind of did it with a regular block. So I'm just going to ink up my sentiment and then stamp right in the center of my card. And I actually get it centered much better when I do that. Okay, so this is going to actually get adhered now to the inside of my card. Which will be just like that. So that's my card for today. Thanks for watching another episode, and I'll see you next time.